Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of K Cards Baseball. Thanks for joining me this morning on this lovely Saturday morning, wherever you might be. Here in Minneapolis, kind of rainy, kind of crappy. It's been a rainy week, so hopefully the weather is much better where you guys are at. So today on the channel, I want to revisit a video that I made a few weeks ago. It was the video that I discussed guys that are basically ruining the hobby. It was about a visit that I made to a Target store where I was planning on picking up a couple boxes of Panini Monopoly cards because I heard there was a Wemby in there and kind of wanted to make another video for the channel. I had a lot of success in January where I did a video through NBA Hoops of Search for Wemby. So I thought I'd kind of do the same thing with those Monopoly cards, but I was planning on picking up a couple boxes, but a flipper beat me to them, picked up every box that was there on the shelf, and was kind of not very pleasant about it. I was in a bit of a rant about it, and apparently you guys liked it because it's had better than 7,500 views to this point. It's had 210 or so likes. I picked up 115 subscribers based on that, just that one video. So it must have struck a chord with someone out there. So like I said, I did get many comments on that video, better than like 180 comments. And I had a chance to respond to most of them. Some people brought up some very valid points in the comments. And I wanted to kind of revisit and discuss some of those comments today and kind of give you guys an overview as far as where I'm at and my opinion as far as what we can do to address this flipper problem, if you will. The problem at the time when I picked up these cards, and many people in the comments section said, well, you should have bought the cards where you were there. You could have grabbed a couple boxes before he got to the shelf. And yes, even though all that is true, I could in fact have picked up a couple boxes while I was standing there and went ahead and picked them up, but that's not what it was about. I didn't, honestly, it didn't really bother me that much, me not getting a couple boxes of Monopoly cards. It was more about this guy taking all the product off the shelf right after it had been stocked. And the first thing I thought about was, well, now anybody that wants to go and buy those cards is going to not be able to get them. Maybe I think too much about the romanticism of the hobby, and I think a lot about the kids that are basically collecting cards, and I'm thinking about the 9 or 10-year-old kid that really wants to get a Victor Wembanyama card, and now in Aberdeen, South Dakota, after this guy had pulled all the product off the shelf, there's no chance for that. So maybe I'm too stuck in the romanticism of it and thinking too much about the 10 or 9-year-old me that at the time when I was that age, it was all about just going and buying cards and looking for my favorite players or my favorite team and that type of thing. So that's what I was thinking about. It wasn't so much about me not getting a couple boxes, a lot of people said in the comments. It was more about that side of it, and the actual pure hobbyist side of it is what I was more concerned about. So let's flip over the computer and I will show you the comments that I particularly highlighted, and we can discuss a little bit about each one. And I would be interested in your opinion as far as what you guys think and what your comments are. So hang on one second, we'll flip over the computer. Hey guys, so here are some of the comments that some of the subscribers have left me to that video. The reason why I grabbed these comments is that they were pretty representative of the views of a lot of the subscribers out there. So I kind of wanted to talk about them. I'll give you what I think about each particular comment, and I'd be very curious to hear what you guys say as well. So the first comment up comes from Ripping and Ranting. And he says, a problem in the area I'm in is that some of the hobby shops aren't getting direct from Topps or Panini. They hit the shelves at Walmart or Target and buy all the boxes and mark them up to 40 to 50. I'm assuming that's dollars, from the 25 to 37. I hate flippers. that take the opportunity away from kids who can't go into hobby shops. Great view on the hobby. New subscriber here. So what I would say to this is maybe I'm a little bit naive. I think that a lot of the hobby shops that I go to anyways, primarily just sell hobby stuff. I don't see a lot of retail stuff in my local LCS. Granted, the LCS I go to isn't exactly what I would call a mom-pop type LCS. The hobby shop I go to is quite large, and think one of the larger ones actually in the country, Real Sports Card. So I think that they might do business a little bit different. I don't see them exactly going to Target across the street from that shop and buying a product. And if your local LCS is doing that, buying and selling retail stuff in their hobby shop, I would really question what is going on exactly at that hobby shop. If they aren't a direct supplier or direct distributor from Topps or Panini, I would question exactly what's going on there. So I don't know that I would frequent a hobby shop that has that stuff going on. Again, maybe I'm naive. Maybe it does happen in many hobby shops out there, but it's not an issue that I've particularly run into. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys have to say. If we have a local card owner or an LCS owner that happens to watch this video, I'd be very interested in hearing your response to this comment and hearing what you have to say. But the next comment, I hope I'm pronouncing this name properly, is Joffrey Chahine 5293. Just taking a guess there. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name improperly. I definitely apologize to you. So let's talk about what this subscriber had to say. He says, unfortunately, as you mentioned, the hobby is ruined. This hobby is all about collecting and getting excited to complete a set or rainbow or super short print cards for a team or player. But since 2017, 2018, the hobby has become very expensive and meant to become a business. These flippers care less about the cards than the hobby. All they care about is flipping and making money. Very sad. I don't know that I would go as far as say the hobby is ruined. I think it has definitely changed and it has a lot of problems. And I think a lot of them stem from Topps and Panini themselves and the way that they sell their product. I would say the bigger point here is the way that Topps and Panini basically have gotten to market their products. And I can talk specifically about Topps because I'm more familiar with that product, because I'm primarily a baseball collector. I don't collect a lot of football and basketball, so I don't buy a lot of Panini products. And quite honestly, as we know, the Panini baseball products have been garbage. They aren't very good because they don't have the licensing for the product. So I don't buy a lot of Panini products, and if I do, it's at a deep, deep, deep discount. At Walmart or whatever, where it's in the discount bin. But Topps in particular, I'm a little bit concerned with the way that they've been selling or marketing the products lately. And I've talked about this before, but Bowman Draft last year was very difficult for me because I love that product. It's been a good product in the past. But the fact that they didn't sell hobby boxes of it last year, they just sold two different varieties of jumbo boxes. Basically, you had to spend $575 on the low end to get a jumbo box of Bowman Draft, and that's a problem in my mind. And you can see it happening more and more where Topps is gearing a lot of their products to the higher end stuff. I think a lot of their number product or their parallels, particularly in Series 1, I did notice that it seemed like some of their parallels were less, you were less likely to get them, particularly on the retail side, and also less on the hobby side. If you bought a hobby box of Series 1, for example, you might get 2 number parallels in a hobby box, whereas in the past, it seemed like you would get 4 or 5. And when they switched from getting one hobby or one autograph card and one relic card or a mem card in each hobby box, now they got to the either or thing. So I think the bigger concern, like I said, sure, the flippers are an issue and we need to do what we can as hobbies to try and eliminate that aspect of the business out of the hobby. But again, the bigger concern is Topps and Panini and the prices that they're currently selling their product at. As we all know as hobbyists, the return on the investment, if you go out and buy a blaster box for $29 at Target or Walmart, you might get at best $10 to $15 for those cards. and the chances of hitting that big card that really puts you over the top, that huge auto or that really cool super short print card, are much less than what they've been in the past, it seems, going back even 2 or 3 years. You might get maybe one number parallel out of every other blaster box at Target or Walmart. And even in the hobby boxes, you might get two number parallels in a hobby box as opposed to in the past getting 4 or 5. And also reduce the amount of autos that you get. I mean, in autos, you might get 1 out of every 10 blaster box, to be honest with you. And in a hobby box, you won't generally get an autograph out of a hobby box anymore. You'll just get a mem card. You're not going to get, maybe every 2 or 3 hobby boxes, or maybe less than that. Maybe it's every 5 or 6 hobby boxes you might get a autograph card, whereas it used to be where you used to get 1 out of every hobby box. So that seems to me to be more of a problem than it is necessarily the flippers. Sure, flippers are an issue, and we need to do what we can to try and eliminate flippers from the business, like I said, because they're just basically ruining the hobby for the small collector than anything else. The next comment comes from M1J9S79. And this comment was the comment that inspired me to go out there and talk to kid collectors and find out their opinion on the hobby, because this one kind of struck a chord with me, to be honest with you. This person says that 8-year-olds should not be opening cards. They should be for adults only, 18 or 21 years and up. It's gambling. If I see them, I buy the whole shelf. But I'm a collector and not a hobbyist. I'm not reselling. I would have peeled you off a couple. So my thought process on this when I read this comment was kind of striking to me, to be honest with you. If you have 8-year-old kids out there that are primarily going to Target or Walmart and buying cards with the idea of making their money back and trying to resell them and make a profit off of them, then they might not necessarily be in the hobby for the right reasons. When I was 8 years old and when I was buying cards at that age, I was more interested in collecting my favorite player or for my favorite team. I didn't really care at all about the value of the cards. I was more interested in having the fun of going to school and trading them with my friends and just having a good time with it at that particular point. I wasn't at all interested in the value of the cards at all. So is this an issue with the kids, or is this an issue with the parents that kind of support it? I mean, if you have parents that are encouraging that and encouraging and putting more emphasis on the value of the cards rather than what the cards represent with the players and the teams, then I don't know really what to say about that. I mean, I don't really want to come down on parents and be one of those guys and say, hey, you're not raising your kids right and you don't have your kids in the hobby for the right reasons. That's not my place to be judgmental like that. It just is a concern that kind of popped into my head when I read this comment. So, again, let me know your ideas about this in the comment section down below. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys have to say. And moving on to the next one. The next comment comes from Dave Cook 1. He says, I hate walking to hobby shops too and seeing retail with a markup. I just pray to get lucky when I'm in featuring my local Walmart or Myers. Not supporting this behavior when you already take a hit as soon as you buy a box. Prices have become crazy and almost impossible to collect sets better than the flagship or low mid-end. Spend $500 and get absolute garbage. Most patches or jersey cards aren't even from a specific player or event anymore. I agree with you, Dave. I think that this is an issue again with Topps and Panini. The value of jersey cards, I mean, when back 5 or 6 years ago, jersey cards were primarily what you were looking for, or relic cards or mem cards. But now, for example, in basketball products, in NBA hoops, you got like the winter ones, you got sweater cards. So I think that Panini and Topps have gotten away from the so-called game-used jersey cards, or the game-used. It is more player-worn these days. So it might not necessarily be from a game or an event, and that dramatically decreases the value of that mem card. I mean, You can go to any card show these days. I was at the Minnesota Card Show, and the mem cards were mixed in with just the regular stuff where you could buy them basically for $1 a piece. So some examples of that are this Cam Collier Donruss card that I recently picked up. It is obviously a mem card. I got it for $1 at a card show, and it doesn't even say on here what the circumstances are and what the card basically is. It doesn't say if it was game worn or player worn or any type of thing. It could just be off of some jersey that was thrown into a pile in the laundry room. I don't know. Doesn't say anything about it. And another example is this Jordan Lawler card. So it does say on the back, the enclosed player worn used material is guaranteed by Panini America. It doesn't say if it was game worn. And that's the big difference. I mean, back in the day, you used to get everything that was pretty much game worn. All this says is player worn used material. Probably in a practice where they just used it, and that was the end of it. You don't know what you're getting basically on material cards, and that's why the value of these material cards have gone down dramatically. So that's a really good comment there. I appreciate it, Dave. And moving on to the next one. The next comment comes from Nicholas Truesdell, 4038. And Nicholas says, I'm that guy sometimes, but I open all that I buy. I don't resell. I bought 6 blasters and 10 hanger packs. I open all of them, though, and keep them. No problems there. If you're a person that goes out there and buys product and you just, keep it for your own personal use, I've got no problem with that. I've done that myself. I've never really, if I see a fully stocked shelf, I don't buy like 10 hangers because I don't have that kind of money. I don't know that I've ever bought 6 blasters at one time. Again, I don't have that kind of cash. And if I do, I'm going to more or less invest it in a hobby box than buying a bunch of blasters or hangers from Target. But that's fine. I've got no issues with the person that's going out there to buy that kind of product. More or less, the issue that I have when it comes to that is if you're taking all the product off the shelf and you're not leaving some for some other people. So it goes back to the Target or the Walmart limiting people to what the amount of product that they can buy off the shelf. I know the Target and Walmart, as we all know, used to limit their products to where you can only buy 5 at a time. Target in the last year has removed that. I know some people in the comments did say that their local Target still limits them to either 5 or 2, and that's really good that they do that. I wish that they would go back and do that across the board. Again, they're just in it for the money. They don't really care how many they sell, just as long as they sell it. So I know that from the retailer's perspective, they don't want to leave a bunch of stuff sitting on the shelves. So that is why they basically have removed the limits. They're going back to the pandemic era where they had to basically put in the limits because you had people lined up for days trying to get product. But I don't mind if hobbyists go in there and buy 4 or 5 or whatever amount of hangers or blasters that they want to, just as long as they're not buying everything off the shelf and turning around and reselling them, then that is fine. And the last comment that I want to highlight comes from Mountain Rock 70. He says, I collect 1978 and back. New cards are ridiculous in so many ways now. I completely agree with that. As a vintage card collector and reseller, if you will, I totally agree with that. You don't have a lot of kids or flippers going out and buying a bunch of vintage. So that eliminates a lot of that problem. I've said before, what I do primarily, I do takes people's collections on a consignment basis, people that want to basically get rid of their collections that they might inherit or that they just want to get rid of them and sitting in a closet for 30 years and don't know what to do with them. So I help them get rid of their cards and move their product for them or move their cards for them just to get them back out there in the hobby. So you can't go wrong with vintage. It is like the stock market. It's a really good investment. The vintage cards will never go down in price. I'll tell you that. Not unless something drastic happens to a particular player or that type of thing. They hold their value really well, and they continue to rise at a better rate than a lot of new product that's out there. So I would encourage a lot of you, if you're not into vintage, to look at that side of the hobby you might find it very interesting. So thanks to all of you that had a chance to respond to that video. Like I said at the beginning, I did have more than 7,500 views on that video, and 115 subscribers chose to go ahead and subscribe to the channel based on that video. If you are a subscriber that did subscribe to the channel on that video, I really hope that you guys like the content that we have and continue to stick with it. We will always do State of the Hobby videos, maybe not every week, but at least every other week, with several different topics that we will tackle during those State of the Hobby videos. So basically the conclusion that I would say when it comes to flippers and this particular topic is that we all have choices that we can make when it comes to where and when we buy product. The reason why I say when is that quite oftentimes if we're a little bit patient when it comes to buying boxes of product, that will generally work out to be in your favor when it comes to total cost. Obviously, we all know that when product first comes out on the shelf, that's generally when the product is going to be at its hottest and the prices are going to be at a premium. But if we're a little bit patient, you will be rewarded for that patience as far as lower costs for the product or for whatever type of product that you are seeking. So what I'm seeing right now on the Monopoly basketball cards, for example, is that on eBay the prices are right around $46. But again, I would probably hold out and wait. Target's selling them for $29.99 a box. They are really difficult to find. The few times I've looked for them since this particular incident happened, the shelves have been basically empty. So you have to catch it at the right time before the flippers get there and buy them all up. But I think that probably within the next few months you might see those prices come down. But who knows what the long-term forecast is for those products. We will see the same thing basically happen once Bowman Baseball comes out. I'm sure that once it hits the store shelves next week, by the end of next week hopefully, I think you will see a lot of flippers going in and buying that product up as soon as it gets stocked. But as we all know, if you're a little bit patient, wait a few months, a month or two down the road, the demand for that product will go down dramatically and you'll be able to pick them up for regular retail cost and not pay the inflated basically 2 times the cost on eBay for that product. So again, like I say, we all have choices we can make when it comes to buying our product. Again, just be a little bit patient when it comes to pricing because as we know, pricing generally comes down on product as time continues to go on. So anyways, guys, thanks for joining me tonight. Hit that like and subscribe, and be safe and happy collecting.